You're listening to Hawk Talk with former Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Play fake, going to roll right, dumps it off into the right flat to Michael Bumpus, who bounces off of one tackler, gets inside the 40, down to the 35-yard line.
Powered by Seahawks.com.
Matt pump fakes, looking to the goal line. He throws it into the end zone. Touchdown Seahawks! It's Michael Bumpus with a diving catch in the end zone. A 10-yard touchdown reception for Bumpus, and the kid out of Washington State has found himself a place on this team.
Now, here's your host, Nasser Kyobe.
Welcome into another edition of Hawk Talk. The Seahawks falling at home to Lumen Field to the Buffalo Bills, 31-10. This is another edition of Hawk Talk. Unfortunately, NASA is by himself today. No Michael Bumpus. Michael Bumpus is feeling a little bit under the weather, and it was a tough day on Sunday, so he left me all to my lonesome to talk about what had happened, and it was tough. When I think about this game, I think about just having a tough day at the office. We've all had them, right? You know, in baseball, sometimes you don't have your fastball. You know, sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Sometimes you're just hurting. Sometimes you just have a bad day. And Sunday was a bad day for the Seahawks. Things weren't going well on most phases of the game, all three. And it just, it was a really tough ball game. It was against a really good team. It was raining. And, there's not a lot to say about what happened. It was tough. It was really tough. And I'll leave it to Coach Macdonald. He addressed the media today, kind of talking about his overall thoughts and how the game went yesterday and what he got from watching the tape.
It confirms a lot of what we felt like during the game is, hey, you know, we faced a really good football team. We did not play our best football by any stretch, all three phases. And you go back and go through kind of the series of events. It felt like in order for us to win that game, you have to capitalize on the opportunities when they present themselves. We didn't do that on offense or defense earlier in the game. Special teams didn't have as many opportunities to affect the game until later, and we got out of whack there at the end. So, and that's how a game ends up 31-10. So, it's disappointing. Obviously, being at home, being 2-3 at home throughout the year, it's disappointing where we're at. We definitely expect better, but meet with the staff this morning and watching the tape and have another plan of attack this week. Just optimistic and. Just want to everybody there's belief. There is belief and a faith in the men that normally sit in this room and on all of our coaches, and we're going to attack the heck out of this week, and we're going to have a great week and be ready to play the Rams.
What I love about Coach Macdonald and just really his personality in general is how level-headed he is all the time. When things are going good, when things are going bad, when there's a great play, when there's a bad play, up and down, he's always kind of right here. And he's just frank. He's to the point. It wasn't where they wanted to be, but at the end there, he talked about the faith and the belief of the guys in this building and on that coaching staff to get this thing corrected because, ladies and gentlemen, it's the National Football League. I know the Buffalo Bills are a great team, and I think the Seahawks are a good team. Sunday was not their day. Games can have a snowball effect sometimes, and things can get away from you, and that's exactly what happened on Sunday. But I like where Coach Macdonald's head's at. I like where this staff's at, where the players are. They're going to fix this. They have a couple days to get ready for the Rams because that's the thing, too. You can't feel sorry for yourself. You're in a log jam in the NFC West. Everyone's in it. Everyone has a chance to win the division, so you got to get right back after it this week, watch the film, correct things, and get after those Rams because you're going to need it next week. But before we get on to the Rams, we obviously have to take a look back at exactly what happened against the Buffalo Bills.
See, what had happened at first was...
What had happened was...
On Hawk Talk.
Well, not a great start offensively as the Seahawks went 3 and out on their first possession. Then the Bills responded with a 14-play, 90-yard drive that ended with a nice touchdown pass at Keon Coleman. Coleman's he's an exciting player, right? He definitely has a ton of personality. And they ran that play a couple times. The first time, Tariq Woolen made a great play, Reek, I should say, and knocked the ball down. They flipped the formation and ran to the other side, and Coleman made a great play because Reek was in great position, just unable to come down with it. So that made the score 7-0. And, the Seahawks also got bit by the penalty bug, which is kind of a precursor for the entire ball game on that drive. So that didn't go well. The Seahawks would come back and insult to injury, go 3 and out, put that defense right back on the field. But the defense came out strong, got their first stop of the game. And that's when the offense kind of started going, and you thought, okay, this is where we're going to figure things out. They had gains of 10, 15, 17, and 14 yards. They'd get all the way down to the Buffalo Bills 2-yard line. And the red zone was just a problem on Sunday. On second down, center Connor Williams snapped the ball over Geno Smith's head for a huge 19-yard loss. K9 picked the ball up. It would have been a 27-yard loss. kind of ran around, got off to the sideline to make it not as bad. But once you get there, you're behind the sticks. I believe it went to like 30-19, and the Seahawks had to settle for a field goal that made the score 7-3. But then on the next play, our guy, Josh Jobe, whom a lot of Seahawks fans did not know about a couple weeks ago, makes a huge play, intercepting Josh Allen, running it all the way back to the Buffalo Bills 7-yard line. That was the first time Josh Allen had been intercepted in his last 300 attempts, which is pretty nuts and pretty crazy to see. So super happy about Josh Jobe doing that. But right there, when that happened, I'm like, okay, we're in business. The game is going to turn around. And unfortunately, it just didn't go that way. Seahawks were in great position to take the lead. 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line. They get stopped there, and they'd go for it. And then it's just a case of bad luck again. You know, on the exchange, Connor Williams accidentally steps on Geno Smith's foot, and it was really cool. I wanted to see what that formation was going to be like because he had Olu Olutimi in there reporting as eligible. He goes in motion. I think it was going to be a little bit of play action. It looked like he had both tight ends leaking out. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see what that play could have been and how good it was drawn up because the Seahawks had to turn the ball over on downs. And from that point on, man, it was tough. The Bills really took it to the Seahawks. They would go on a 12-play, 93-yard drive, ending with a 12-yard touchdown to tight end Dalton Kincaid. That made the score 14-3. But the Bills had so much go their way on that drive. And I'm not taking anything away from them. They made plays, and they kind of made it happen that way. But the Seahawks also hurt themselves as well. The first play that I want to talk about early in that drive, it's 3rd and 5. Josh Allen is hit as he's trying to scramble, is going to be sacked, fumbles the football. The Seahawks are going to get a stop, but he gets lucky, accidentally kicks the ball, and the Bills recover. And that was just kind of how the day went, that those 50-50 balls were not going the Seahawks' way. Ball bounces, 12 yards, whatever it was. They recover. They continue the drive. Later on that same drive, it's 3rd and 7, and the Seahawks are going to get off the field. Much need to stop. Bills are probably going to have to settle for 3. Nothing's guaranteed with the kind of weather we saw that day. And as Josh Allen's getting ready to throw the ball away, Derek Hall, who's a competitor, is doing his job, just trying to get after the quarterback, a little overzealous, makes contact with Josh Allen. He's called for roughing the passer, despite the illegal formation on Buffalo on that play. Now, fans, if you remember, we learned about this 15-yard versus 5-yard issue earlier in the season against the 49ers. If there's a 5-yard false start or procedure penalty like that, but then the defense commits a personal foul, so roughing the passer or anything like that, that negates the 5-yard penalty, even if the play should have been blown dead or whatever. And then, again, bad luck for the Seahawks. It's not offsetting penalties. They get a first down. They, on that same drive, eventually go ahead and score. They go up 14-3. So at halftime, the score's 14-3. You're still in the game, and you're hoping the Seahawks can stay in it. But unfortunately, the Bills just really took it to the Seahawks in the second half. They would score in their first 3 possessions, field goal, touchdown. And then the Seahawks would throw an interception on the first drive and then go 3 and out of the next. So it's pretty hard to dig your way out of that. And then the wheels just really fell off at one point. 4 straight penalties. And, it was just tough, man. James Cook then gets in the end zone. Now the score's 31-3, and the game just clearly got away from the Seahawks. Hawks would finally get in the end zone with a 9-play, 70-yard drive, ending with a Zach Charbonnet touchdown. That made the score 31-10, and that's how the game would end. Final stats were not kind to the Seahawks. If you look into the box score, the Bills outgained the Hawks 445-233. The Bills had 29 first downs. The Seahawks had 17. The Bills dominated time of possession, 38 minutes to 21. Bills were 8 of 15 on 3rd down, and the Seahawks were just 1 of 7. The Hawks were held to just 32 yards rushing. The Bills ran for over 160. The Seahawks were penalized 11 times, and shockingly enough, the Bills were actually penalized more times than the Seahawks. A ton of laundry on the field all game long. But like I said at the beginning, it was a tough game. The Seahawks didn't have their fastball. They didn't execute, and it just didn't go their way. And you can't do that against a really good team like Buffalo. But everything that I've seen this year, yes, it has been great over the last little bit over a month. The Seahawks have lost 4 or 5 games. But they have the guys in the locker room. They have the guys that can make plays. You're missing a DK Metcalf. A couple things just don't go your way. Don't get me wrong. They didn't play well on Sunday, but they have the guys in the locker room that if they were to play a Buffalo again or when they play another good team, I think we'd get a better result because the effort was there. We didn't execute. The Seahawks just didn't do what they needed to do to win the game. But there were a couple plays that were made yesterday. Let's talk about the Playmakers.
Touchdown, Seahawks!
Playmakers.
Show them what time it is.
Well, we'll start where we normally do, and that's Geno Smith at the quarterback position. He didn't have the greatest game. He didn't have a game like he had in Atlanta. He was 21 of 29 for 212 yards in the 1 interception, QB rating of 78.5. Now, Geno has been under a lot of pressure this entire season, and for the most part has done such a good job. I mean, came into the game leading the league in passing, leading the league in tops in completion percentage, in yards, attempts, all that stuff. And, you know, he didn't throw for over 30 times, but it just couldn't get into a rhythm, right? There were some really good throws, like on that drive when the Seahawks it looked like the tide was turning, and a bunch of big completions down the field, but it just couldn't get into a rhythm, and things couldn't really get pieced together for him. And it's frustrating, man. You know, on the tip ball on the screen, again, just bad luck. Maybe Geno should throw it into the ground there, but it's hard to tell. It's the defender's right there in the throwing lane. It could have been a really good call. It's just bad luck, which is honestly, it's unfortunate for him especially because most of his interceptions this year have been tipped, or something's been influenced, or he's been hit or pressured. So he made some good plays. It just wasn't the best game for him, so we're hoping he could bounce back against the Rams coming up. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he had 6 receptions for 69 yards, team high. He also had an 18-yard reception. A.J. Barner had 2 receptions for 34 yards. And then shout out to Ernest Jones, who came over, had essentially 1 real practice with the Seahawks, and he led the team with 15 tackles. And that's just, for a guy to be traded twice in a year and to be in Tennessee on Tuesday, to get to Seattle on Thursday, practice once, have a couple walkthroughs, then you're playing in a game against a really good Buffalo Bills team, and it's tough. But love the effort I've seen from him. I think he's going to get more comfortable. I promise you he's going to be an impact player. Just when you look at the tape, his resume doesn't lie. I think when he gets his feet under him, gets really involved in this defense, I think it's going to be really good for the Seahawks. Then our guy Josh Jobe, I mentioned him earlier. We're going to talk about his play specifically here in a second. But 7 tackles, 1 pass defended, 1 interception, broke up Josh Allen's interception list streak. So really good to see a guy that was in 2 different spots, just do his thing. And really excited about what Josh Jobe has been able to bring the last few weeks. Kobe Bryant had 6 tackles and 1 big pass defense. And Michael Dixon, we don't talk a lot about the punters, but we can show the punters a little bit of love here. Michael Dixon, 4 punts, 245 yards, 61-yard average. He had 1 punt that went 68 yards. And let me tell you something, okay? People voting for the Pro Bowl and All-Pro, I don't know how Michael Dixon continues to get snubbed every year. It makes no sense. He has one of the best averages in the history of the National Football League. He continues to do his job each and every season, and it's super disappointing that he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. So, Mike, I'm giving it to you right here. Michael Dixon had a solid day. Just taking a look at the receivers, I mentioned some of them here in the receiver roundup. No DK Metcalf. So anytime you don't have one of the league's best receivers, he was number 3 in the entire NFL going into that game. He was number 1 in completions over 20 yards heading into that game. So when you take a guy that can take the top off the defense, that can run by you, that can run over you, that can block you with one hand or onto the sideline, it's going to be tough. He's going to have an impact on the game. So the one good thing that we heard from Coach Macdonald today was that he's optimistic that Geno will make his return this week. But again, optimistic. He has to see how the week goes. Way too early to decide what's going to happen. They're going to have to monitor that, really look through the injury reports. We'll look on Friday. I'm assuming if he might be someone that goes up to game time. We just don't know. But it seems like Coach is optimistic that he could make his return this week. Big thing in that sentence is could. So we'll keep an eye on that. So hopefully we'll be good there. I mentioned JSN, 6 for 69. Barner, 2 for 34. Ken Walker, 4 for 33. Noah Fant, 3 for 22. He had a huge streak. I believe it was 21 straight attempts or completions to him without any completion. That did not continue on Sunday because he did have 1 target that he did not catch, but he's been killing it. Charbonnet was 3 for 20. Jake Bobo, 1 for 15. Laviska Shenault, 1 for 10. And Tyler Lockett, 1 for 9. Now, I alluded to it a little bit as I've talked about it throughout this episode. It's Josh Jobe. He's been a good story, but he turned a good story into a playmaker as he had this interception on Josh Allen.
Has Johnson beside him in the backfield. Wide split to the far side. Adams has time. It's intercepted. Picked off. It's Jobe. Goes the other way. Down to the 30, 25, 15, 10. Knocked off his feet inside the 5. Josh Allen coughs it up. for the first time this season. He tries to throw a slant right side, and Josh Jobe jumps it, and the youngster takes it all the way down inside the 5, and the Seahawks are set up to take a lead here in this second quarter. We thought it was going to happen. It's the first career interception for the Jobe, and the first one thrown this year by Allen.
What I love about that is I heard Boye Mafe, he joined the huddle this week, and we're talking about turnovers, and he talked about, there's always these conversation about turnovers come in bunches, or like, man, that person got lucky about getting that turnover, or he's always in the right place at the right time, this and that. No, turnovers are created because you're prepared, because you playing good defense, because you get to the football, and you are in the right place at the right time because of your preparation. And Josh Jobe on this play, Amari Cooper's just running a little slant. It's 3rd and 3, throwing a little sticker out there, and Jobe is in the right spot. Cooper slips a little bit on the wet turf, but Jobe's in the right spot, kind of stems in there, boom, catches the football, runs it back all the way 7-yard line, setting up a potential Seahawks score, what we thought at the time. Huge thing about him. And just for those who don't know a lot about Josh, he played 4 seasons at the University of Alabama, including helping them win a national championship in 2020. So he's not, shy or not familiar with the big stage after playing big-time college football there. And then he goes undrafted to Philadelphia, and they really liked him in Philadelphia. He was their kind of special teams ace. In 2 years there, he started 3 games last year. He played a team-high 323 special team snaps, ranking 2nd on the Eagles, and special teams tackles with 6. He was an ace on special teams from there as a gunner. So he's been around the league a little bit. Great job on the personnel department, John Schneider, Nolan Teasley, the rest of the guys to bring him in here. And, essentially starting 2 games in a row, had a good game against Atlanta and had another great play against the Bills. So obviously you're hoping Trey Brown comes back and the secondary continues to get a little bit healthier. Reek Woolen made his return this last week, so you're hoping Trey will come back and they can all be at full strength. But the cool thing about Josh is he showed that he can play. He can play in this league, and there's a reason he's up. And, again, a great story. I love to see it. And, to transition from just being a good story to a guy that's actually making plays for the Seahawks on the field. Well, like I said, man, it was not pretty. The Seahawks lose 31-10 to the Buffalo Bills, and the clock just ran out.
A knee taken by Hundley. They're just going to let the clock wind down, not even going to bother taking that last time out.
Tough day at the office for the Hawks. Just couldn't get out of their own way. The Seahawks had the ball inside the Bills' 5-yard line twice, only walking away with 3 points. That's not going to get it done against a really good team like Buffalo. The Seahawks also lose the turnover battle and were dominated in time of possession. The Bills became the first team to have 2 touchdown drives of 90 yards in one half since 2022. The Hawks were penalized 11 times, and each one felt like they came at the worst time. It just wasn't a good game, but the Seahawks are in a spot now where obviously they can't feel bad for themselves. They have a huge, and I mean huge, divisional game against the Rams at Lumen Field this Sunday. Every NFC West team right now has 4 losses. The Rams are 3-4 because they already had their bye. But to me, that just means this division is wide open. The Niners had a big win against the Cowboys last night, but everyone's in it. The Seahawks have the Rams, there's a bye week, and they have the 49ers. So they have 2 huge interdivision matchups in the NFC that are really going to decide their fate later in the season. So this is a huge game, and I think the Seahawks are going to be game. They lost the last 2 games to the Rams last season. Obviously, new team, new coaching staff. The Rams are getting some of their guys back, but I promise you, I think the Seahawks are going to be ready for that battle because it's so important, and I hope the 12s are ready for it too. Me and Bump will be back on Thursday getting you ready for this matchup, and I'm excited because when you have a clunker in this game of football, you just cannot wait to get back there on the field and show who you really are, and that wasn't the Seahawks, and I know they can have better performances. They're not quite to where they want to go, but they're going to continue to process it every day. Coach Macdonald talks about stacking wins, and they're going to do that every single day as we lead into Thursday. So thank you for bearing with me without Michael Bumpus, the real guru here. But, the Seahawks taking on the Rams this Sunday. It's going to be a huge one. We'll be back on Thursday giving you a preview, breaking down everything you need to know about the Los Angeles Rams. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube under the Seahawks Press Pass channel. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, SiriusXM, and more. Seahawks fall to the Buffalo Bills 31-10. This has been Hawk Talk.